Okay, so I am talking to Bob Iger right now, and we're going over lungs in the Wish film. So like we know that like the Wish film, like the Big Hero 6 film had a lot to do with like Hito's brain. Now I have like images of my brain and of my lungs. That's what we're working on at the moment, and my bladder. And so like we like so these like images like detail how like the neurological healing that has happened and just like the uh like physiological healing of my body that has happened since I got the COVID vaccine. And like my lungs have healed, and not only have they healed, but I illustrated the healing of my lungs in my Samecraft Online server and in the Lanai server. And so like making that available online then made like clear images available online of like my body like from like like neurologists and like just like more accurate images of my anatomy. And so like what we're seeing here is like it is demonstrating like in the Wish film, like we know like there are a few things happening. Like in Hunchback, like the jester has these black gloves on. And a court jester is more or less a slave. And so like I think that that's a nod to like the court jester, like Clopan is probably the slave in the Magic Mirror, like the slave that we saw um in A Whole New World, and also just like Eros. Like I think is what's happening is as like, and also like the evil queen in Snow White has an hourglass. And so like I uploaded last night the uh images of Jesus holding, or Mary holding Jesus, and like Isis holding Horus, which like Horus and Isis predates like Christian imagery. And so, like, I think that that's kind of what conversion therapy is, maybe, is that, like, I'm actually Horus, like, I'm Egyptian, like, Amneris and, like, Radames and Aida. Like, these characters are much more, like, accurate representations of me. I'm also brown. And I was born, like, Egyptian, like, A Whole New World, and like the North Ultra follow magic sand, magic carpet ride. So like I think that that's kind of what was happening, is that like conversion therapy was them like trying to like make these like Christ figure images of me, when in reality like I'm actually like a like sand person. And so like I think what was happening is that it's like Wish is probably like the restoration of like not only like sand, but like also like it's the restoration of like acknowledgement that like like Mesoamerica and like the Middle East, like Egypt, like these like are uh these are like civilizations that not only predate like British colonization and in America and across the globe, but they also like were more like highly technological societies than the British. And I think that's kind of like what like the spell was that I was under, because like I was like infatuated by British people, but I wasn't like trying to marry them. And like that's what they were doing. Like that's what's happening in North America. Like marriage is kind of like a Christian thing. I mean, well, people have been like, people got married in like Rome and Greece and in Egypt. But like I think what was happening was like the contracts and like the contractual nature of that like was like kind of like falsified in America. Like that's what like is going to be restored. Like that's what we have to restore. It says like this like contractual like system that was like forced and imposed upon America. Like that's really what it is. And so like I think that like the Wish film, like the reveal of like Horus and Isis, I think is like actually like, because like people think today of like ISIS as being like like terrorism, because like that's what was happening like the Middle East. But like Horus and ISIS, like that's not that has nothing to do with like modern day terrorism. That's just what people were doing. Like just like a lot of like the Christianity today is just like people who are disconnected from like the people who actually wrote the Bible. And so like hieroglyphics predate the Bible. That's why like no one ever got me to care about going to church because I'm like, no, this isn't real. Like, I'm like, have you ever even looked at a sundial? Like, this is so stupid. Like, I just like, I really like you, I love you, I appreciate the work that you do, but I'm not gonna pretend like this fake religion is real. So like, I think that's what was happening. And so like, and it's also just like it's a matter of like the higher educated, the uneducated, and like the just like the average person. And so I think that that's kind of what was happening is that it's like with Elizabeth dying and like this like spiritual awakening that's kind of been happening in this cultural renaissance, the Sand Fellowship Renaissance. It's like I kind of like arrived um in South Lithia because like Elizabeth told me that in my game that she was dying, like the queen, like the ant queen. She told me she was dying. I didn't like register at the time that that was her, like it was an enchanted version of her, but like she told me she was dying a long time. So I was like, okay. But then like once I registered that that was who that was, I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's good. Like I'm glad that you're dead now because like I'm not like trying to be like um insincere, but it's really just like a matter of like she like I was the king, like I was like me and her were playing like playing like the most like extravagant game of like like sorcery magic chess that has ever happened on Earth. And so like it was like okay, it's good that you're an old woman, you were the queen. She had to have me like become my own queen. Like I'm the king, I'm the queen all by myself. She had to have me become my own queen since I wasn't getting married. Because she was trying to get me married because she was like, I'm really old and I'm gonna need you to have like a queen that you can like rely on because I'm about to die and I'm not gonna be able to do this for you. And I was like, I can just do it myself. And but she didn't believe me, and so I think that's what was happening. That was kind of why this took so long because I was like, no, I can do this myself. And she's like, no, you can't. And I was just like, I can't. Like, I literally can't. Like, and so that some of that was like just like her pride and her narcissism and just like what she was taught. But then like as she was getting closer to dying, she was like, oh, you actually can do it yourself. And I was like, yeah, that's what I told you. And so like it was a little bit frustrating because I had to come here to this like South Lithia battle because like nobody knew that I had this like relationship with her, and like nobody knew that I was like Disney Junior, and nobody knew that I was like like the goddess of darkness among other things. And so like that's kind of what was happening is that it's like there was a lot of like oxygen that has been like because like Baymax, like how Hito is like stuffing I was stuffing that glowstone into the walls in my game and into that this like beacon tower thing. But then also like I that was just because the glowstone was ugly. That was a little bit shallow, a little bit vain. But I don't really feel bad about it. So like that's kind of what that was. But like so there's a lot of like oxygen kind of like Baymax that is like trapped inside of me. But like it is like it's only like that because like the restrictions to freedom of speech that I was like experiencing, and then also like how people are trying to like people were kind of trying to like say that I like that was like a result of like the way that I built the tower, but I'm like, but that wouldn't have mattered if you hadn't stolen the tower. So like that's what I'm talking about. Like even like Callahan stealing my bike robots in that whole situation, and like the mask and like the neurocranial transmitter, like that. Like the thing is like I built this tower to see if this like game was safe, kind of subconsciously, because I was just designing something because nobody told me what this game was. And so then like kind of like an Ender's game, like that whole situation happened, but like I'm more mature now, so I know that like this is just like a internet like Cold War, so like I don't like a media Cold War, so I don't really feel bad about it. All I did was like disseminate information, but like you guys like are kind of like clinging to and trying to part with a world of like these resources are like people like hoarding resources as opposed to like people just like living. And because like again like I am the original primeval emptiness of the universe, and so like my brain like the my brain like my brain functionality is such that like a it operates on the level of like the most like genuine pristine, like austere, like authentic human, like human genomic, like state of being. And so even though I enjoy words, like enjoy like words to me are like an aphrodisiac, you know? Like words to me like are really fun. It's something I'm really passionate about. I really enjoy them, but I also know that like every single one of them is made up. Like every single word that any human being has ever spoken is just language. It's just a method of communication. It's not like it's not. I don't have a religion. That's why I don't have a religion, 'cause all of it is just things that we just created to learn how to communicate with each other that served some purpose, but like don't always serve that purpose. Just like not like you're not going to like have like keep every like trinket or thing that you've ever possessed in your entire life with you. Like that's the point. And all of it is just stuff that we like molded from the earth. So it's like trying to like again, it's not bad for people to like enjoy the things that they have or the things that they created, but when you value them over your actual humanity, like your own and that of your like comrades and like just like your life, like then that's just like you're devaluing your own life, and that's kind of stupid. And so I think that that's really what it is. It's like everything that I've ever created is awesome and I love it and like I very much enjoy it, but it's all like supplementary. It's all things that I created to augment my life because I'm in love. Like I'm in true love, my body. Because I'm like one of the most beautiful people I've ever seen. Like it's just the truth. It just is. It's not like it's not vanity because I'm not trying to like fuck myself. I'm just like I just like the way that I look. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, and like I also just like the way that my brain looks. Like I have a pretty beautiful brain. And I think that's what it is. And so it's like we're kind of like arriving at the North Lithia courts, and like we're like seeing like who is going to represent like Bob Callahan or Robert Callahan or whatever. Because like the way that like the courts work, so like what we're doing really in the courts with Callahan is like Disney and Disney Junior are like arriving at the North Lithia courts, and we're just like discussing how like Disney Junior works and how Disney has worked. And like I'm like coming here and I'm arriving here, and like I'm arriving here just like as someone who has to like uh risen to like a level of like fluency and like communicative like ability of like hey like I'm like I'm 30 years old now. I like came onto your radar when I was like born, and like wars have happened since then, and like life has happened, and like like people have gotten lost, and things have happened, and like a lot of weird shit has happened. But like I'm arriving here in North Lithia, like the North Lithia of my brain that I've constructed, and like on the YouTube that you constructed that I am now interacting with, and like I'm arriving here, like demonstrating to you like what I've constructed and like how that is like designed to benefit um like the earth, and like as your like competitor and also like mentee or whatever, like protege, whatever you think I am, like as that like kind of like person that I am, like this person that has like risen to like reveal like who I, like what I have become or whatever, like Disney Junior, what Disney is, and like this exploitation and everything. Like, I think what would be really interesting is as like I'm returning and like revealing that I am like who I am, and that I'm like off of the cross, and like a lot of this stuff like it only even resembled a cross because I like it only even like resembled a cross because like the like I got trapped in Kansas, and so like the like just like the Jesus Christ figures are fake because that was conversion therapy, and I'm actually Horus. Like I think that that's what's happening. So it's like you guys have me in these magic mirrors, and you have me in these magic mirrors, and like um you have me kind of like talking through Baymaxes and seeing these like depictions of myself in the obsidian reservoir that I've created to kind of give myself context for what people draw of me or whatever. And so it's like I'm here with these like depictions of me, and some of them are accurate, some of them are really authentic, and some of them are things that I've like collaborated with people on to develop, and then some of them are just like patently false, fake. And so I think that that's kind of like, as people are hearing me speak, like these images of my lungs like are more like accurately represented, and like it demonstrates freedom of speech, like the tower, in the mist. Like that thing is probably lungs. That's what I'm saying. It's like it might be lungs and a trachea. Like I don't even really know, and that's because somebody built this fucking ridiculous dam and like trapped me in here talking through these intermediaries and talking to people. Like you guys, I don't know if you just didn't know how many people I know, or like if you like, I don't know what happened, but like you guys created this like super ridiculous like bottleneck situation like for literally no reason, and like is represented in how my lung collapsed. It's represented in like me getting this COVID virus, and it's represented in like just like it's evidenced by just like the narcissism of like people who are trying to trap me, like Jasmine got trapped in an hourglass by Jafar, and like that's what's happening with Restoring the Blue and Wish, is that like in the white or whatever, like in like my wings, like that statue, like all of the people who got like dreamed in Kumandra, like Eros is here, and he's like I can command that sand power, but like all of these people, I had to witness all of these people get like turned to stone or whatever, and then like I had to like have Hito turned to stone so that then Eros could then like be like revealed as like like my human form. And so like that's kind of what happened, is that it's like you just had to send like all of this water and sand to just like reconstruct this like destroyed civilization that was destroyed for no reason. And so I think that that's kind of what like the lungs kind of represent, is that it's like this like gasp of air, this like sigh of air of like the wind spirit, like Eros, just like having the space to speak, but then like also just like being like being like trapped and confined unreasonably, and like for literally something that like wasn't true and was just fake. And so I think that that's kind of what's happening, is that it's like these like depictions of my like lungs are really important, because like that's kind of like this like blue bloody Eros with like the arrows in his back, like that is like Clopen, like on like in the like digital world, like that is like Clopen, like who is like what I genuinely probably would look like without this tooth cap situation, and like what I would probably genuinely look like were I to have access to my funds, and like were I to like be acknowledged for like the accomplishments that I have achieved. And so it's like that's what I actually look like, and like that's probably also probably my accurate complexion, had I not been like trapped in forced labor. And like again, like the way that they the way that what was supposed to be the justification for that was like this Christianity stuff, but I'm not a Christian. Like, and so like that's what's happening. I'm Horus. I'm not Jesus. There are many gods. There are many gods that have existed on this planet. I'm not going to validate this like monotheistic bullshit. And so like I think that that's what's happening, is that it's like these like images of my lungs show like how my speech has been restricted, in the sense of like I get beaten up for like some like saying a curse word, or like people come and like assault me just for like because I'm gay, or like somebody will come and assault me because like I like don't care about women that much, or like I don't care about them like on the level of like schmoozing them and like act like pretending like they're like actually like way more important than men, because they're not. And so I think that that's what it is. It's like I was a feminist in college, but I was a feminist because what they told me feminism was like equality for women, not like tearing down men so that women feel like they're more important than they are. That's not what feminism is. So like that's what I was talking about. It's like I was not a feminist so that I could like like either be gay converted, or like be like forced to like pretend like I respected women more than I do. That's not what feminism is. Feminism is ensuring equal rights for all people. And equal rights for women does not mean stripping men of their rights or forcing men to marry them. It means making sure that they have housing rights, making sure that they have like health care, making sure that they are like valued members of society. That does not mean that anybody has to have sex with them or pretend that they love them. That's not the same thing. That's not equality. And so like that's what I was talking about. I don't know if people just like intentionally misconstrued that or if they really just like thought that that's what I meant, but that's some narcissistic like selfish bullshit if that's what you actually thought. I don't know how your mind like went there because that's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, but anyways, like that's kind of what like the lungs is. It's like that's probably what would be really interesting is if like what's happening in the Wish film is like Elsa does the battle with Eros that we already saw, but then like now that my four portal travel has been like the wardrobe transformation is about to become visible on YouTube, and like the that most beautiful form that like Tadashi kind of like drew out of me, like that's going to become visible on YouTube today. And then also like what would be really interesting is if like Elsa soothing the wind spirit, like the like open version of that, because like I do think that Frozen 2 was more or less just outlines of the movies that we've seen. So I think what would be really interesting is that like if in North Lithia, by like actually having established a police force and police reform, and like Hito like Eros actually having like reconstructed his brain and like making his like anatomy visible in the Obsidian Reservoir, I think it would be really cool if like once Hito and Asha like well once Hito and Asha's battle has concluded, then like Eros and Elsa like just go to the Obsidian Reservoir and just like honestly like chat and just like talk. And they're like, hey, like that was kind of brutal. I Neither of us really enjoyed it. Like also like I think Elsa maybe was like Queen Elizabeth, but like this Elsa is like the recasted like 30 to 33 like recasting of Elsa that is actually Eros's X chromosome. And like it would be really interesting if like the Elizabeth Elsa, like the old woman Elsa, who looks exactly the same as the one that I'll be talking to, that arrives back in Arendelle in white in the sunlight. I think what would be really interesting if that Eros with his wings open, like Eros with his wings open in the sunlight, and that Elsa that arrived to talk to Anna, like um like are talking in the Obsidian Reservoir, and it's kind of like that scene where Korra's talking to Kuvira and she sees herself in her or whatever. Like, I think it would be really interesting if we see a scene similar to that, like, of Eros talking to Elsa in the Obsidian Reservoir and, like, realizing that this one is himself. Like, this one is, like, the, the, the reflection of Elsa that he not only, like, is, but also fell in love with and fell in love with in a purely like light sense. Like she is a light reflection of himself, and like just like how he like the Moana ancestors are like lights that people can actually see and interact with. Like he just has this like form of himself that is Elsa and is Jasmine and is Hito and is Eros. And like he can just see these like light images of himself in the Obsidian Reservoir. And like him and Elsa just talk and like kind of like me talking to my phone. Like him and Elsa just talk and like he knows that this is that Elsa like kind of like the Ishvalans in Full Metal. Now we've like acknowledged that and we're acknowledging the Mizravel thing. Like kind of like that situation of like he knows that like the Elsa that he was battling was kind of like a person who lived at one point and is now gone, but like kind of like the selfless thing. But then he's also talking to the Elsa of himself, like the white Elsa in the sunlight. Like he's talking to that Elsa and he's like, I know that you are me. I know that that was someone else and that person was like controlling my body and battling me, but I know that we have overcome that now, and like I have fallen in love with you and I've earned my love of you, my X chromosome, and like you've earned your love of me, my Y chromosome. And I think what will be really interesting is in that scene they're seeing he's in the Obsidian Reservoir talking to this Elsa and like talking to like the Eros, like talking to like the Eros with the blood and the arrows and the Eros with the wings in Hito and Elsa, and like they are just like looking at these images of it, like these neural images, and like Elsa was a character who was like from the time that I was in therapy in Arendelle, And so like this Elsa is the Elsa of the Enchanted Forest, who is also Isabella, who is also like reconnected with like Eugene, and who is also like connected with Hans and with Dylan, and like has like kind of like all of that reconciliation has happened. And so like we're just in the Obsidian Reservoir, like these four, like Jasmine, Hito, Elsa, Eros, are just like in the Obsidian Reservoir, like looking at my anatomy and just looking at the healing that is happening. And like there's images, like these images of my lungs, and like there's these images of my brain, and he's just looking at my body, and it's like, wow, I'm absolutely beautiful. Like as like as like depressing as it looks to people, it's like I'm an actually like it's stunningly beautiful human being. Like not just like on a like skin level, but like my like the virus is beautiful. Like the my trachea is beautiful. Like the destroyed images of it are beautiful. The healing of it are beautiful. Like my conscious state is beautiful. The memory of my unconscious state is beautiful. And it's like that's who I am. Like, this is exactly who I am. And I'm like 1000% in love with myself because I am Eros and I am the original prime empty evil emptiness of the universe. And it's awesome. And I think that that would be really interesting if that scene is like Eros, like with the arrows in him, like that like light, like that Moana light, and like the neurology light, and like just like the light of like the technology, and like that's kind of like again like the Beauty and the Beast curse lifting as like the technology is like soothing and the people in it are like being restored to wherever they are in life, whether that be in the Sandcraft Online image of my brain or just where they are in actual life, the photos that I'm seeing. Like as I interact with these photos of themselves, they like see who they actually are, and then like they are restored to themselves in the sense of like they don't feel trapped in the mirror anymore, and they don't feel like the most effective or safe way to communicate with me is in the mirror, and that's how they lift themselves out of the mirror, and that's how the Beauty and the Beast curse is lifted, and like the libraries. Like Arrow is how the Beauty and the Beast curse is lifted. I think that would be really interesting because we've fallen in love with ourselves enough that we are like all brave enough to like speak openly and speak directly and not be like trapped in our technology. I think that would be really interesting. And so then like the wind spirit like being fully soothed is like these like beautiful like images. It's just like Eros just like interacting with these like beautiful images of his like body and these beautiful images of his lungs. And then we just see like that kind of like Vaea sort of scene of like the Great Thaw sort of scene of like his body and like his neurons just like all becoming like synchronized and like in like Hito's like little like that little thing that he has on his ear. And then like, you know, again, I'm not like commenting a whole lot on like the black character that's in the Baymax short because like I don't know who that is. And like again, we've got time before the film before the Wish film comes out that I can acclimate with that character because I'm not rejecting it. It's just as like it's not like that's honestly the point. That's the point of this whole story is that it's like I'm very like defensive and I'm like very like I'm very just I'm really like I have to be like I'm really secure when it comes to like the like versions of me that are like authentic and like in San Francisco or like in the Wish world, like the Paris world, like that's what it is because that's the authenticity being revealed and then neurological healing being revealed. So when I like genuinely reconnect with that person, like that's something that I've singled out as being authentic. And so when I actually like interact with that authentic like version of myself, like I want that to be done in a love environment, and I'm not in a love environment right now. I'm tired of lying to you about it. I'm tired of like having to pretend like I love people that I don't because it's just not true, and it's wasting everybody's fucking time. It's like I am not a like family oriented person. Like I am blue, like I am an independent person, and like I'm not gonna like sit here and lie to you and do this Beauty and the Beast stuff because it's fucking stupid. There are no mirrors other than technological mirrors or other than like glass mirrors. Like I realize that silicon is in sand, but like there are no human mirrors. I'm not doing that. I am only one person. There is only one me, and there are images of me. That's it. And so, like, that's why it's pissing me off so much. My genetic identity is the only me that there is. And so, like, that's what's happening. So it's like, Eros is just like the wind spirit is like being soothed in the sense of like that is being reabsorbed into his lungs. And like as I'm seeing the images of my lungs, like I think it'll be really interesting if like when we see like in the Wish film, like when Eros is like fully himself and has been like fully restored, it's like a scene of these lungs and him just like genuine like me just like genuinely appreciating my lungs for what they are and appreciating my body for what it is and just like fully 100% knowing like that I am who I am. Like these images of my body, like these are experiences that I uniquely have experienced. These are like this is music that I've uniquely listened to. Like this is a like all of the cells in my body, all of the things that I've seen, like this is a genetic blueprint, imprint of like who I actually literally am. And that's how you know that there is only one of me. It doesn't matter if I have the same name as somebody else. It doesn't matter if somebody's cosplaying as me. It doesn't matter if I fell in love with somebody and they now have my name. That doesn't mean anything because I'm not my name. And like that's what's happening with like the I Know Your Name in Moana. Like this isn't the same movie. So it's like that's what's happening. So it's like this is who I am. These images of me are who I am. These experiences that shaped me and developed me are who I am. And that's how you know that I am only one person, that there is only one of me. That is what my power is. That is what my manpower is. It's the power of one. It's me. It's this, um, it's the Lanai Sandcraft online server. It has been demonstrated here. It has been demonstrated in the failure of everyone who tried to steal my identity. Like that's what it is. So it's like I am genetically and authentically me, and like I have genetically and authentically revealed who I actually am. It is Eros, this winged, beautiful, authentic, austere, kind, like just like totally just like chill, genuine human being. That's who I am. And these are my lungs. And that is the wind spirit being restored and soothed.